explain like everything in the phone thing. And right away, I knew like when I first met them that I was like, yeah, this doesn't add up. Like I just asked. I just invented the idea that I become friends with the same people over and over, and then they had the same name this time, so it was like really obvious. And they did like the same stuff, even had the same attitudes when they met each other in the same room. I knew where those attitudes would lead to. They would discuss those attitudes with me. And I was noticing though, whatever's going on, this is like an opiate for my mind. It's giving me like, whatever's happening, whether it's comfortable or not, it's giving me a sense of comfort. And if it's not comfortable, then it's this false sense of comfort. Like when you kidnap people, when you kidnap children and you sell them as sex slaves, you drug them with opiates, because the drug will, if you don't have these things work, it'll make you happy and feel good. Your leg can be broken, that's how it works when people are pain. Your leg can be broken, you be in a wheelchair, whatever, and you take it, and everything is great. It doesn't matter if your leg's broken. Someone can run you up with a semi and break your other leg, and you just be like, funny, it's a semi. I mean, they hit me with the truck the other day, and it's funny, the truck is moving me around. It was funny. I mean, that's me. I probably think it was funny either way. But, I always wanted to know what that felt like to get hit. I was thinking more like, if it happens, it's got to be on an 8 mile per hour. We have a high chance of not happening in time. So, make it worth the problem. But I realized, like, right away, it's creating like a false sense of security. And even then, it's like, how is that creating a false sense of security? Because it was like, it's like if you kidnap a child and you put them in sex slavery for 2 years, and they're on opiates every day, you take them off the opiates, they'll withdraw and everything, but that'll be all they know, and they'll feel uncomfortable without those people in their life trafficking them anymore, because it's all they know. It's all it's like the abuse thing. Like you get used to it. Like you beat your dog for 10 years, and then you set your dog outside, and it doesn't leave the house. It wants to come back in. It doesn't care because it's used to that. It knows that it's going to be a bowl of food maybe once a week, once every month, or something like that. And that's all it wants. So even if I realized, like, wait a minute, like, these things, and they're showing me, like, they're whatever, like, they're, like, beings who were always evil in the first place, or were ready to be shifted to being evil, like, when the time came to see them, or my mind inventing the people, controlling them, shifted them, but whatever happened, but I can tell, like, they were trying to tell me for a long time, like, hey, look, these people in your life, they're not the best for you. You're like your friends, and you get along, and you do cool, fun stuff no one else does, but at least one of them or something, and maybe the other one's the problem, it's the complete opposite, but I was just so used to it, and so used to them beating me and keeping me down. If I decided to, like, leave, like, it became like a sense of comfort just to be there and to know they existed. So then, like, that compiles on top of the clone thing. It's like, I'm seeing clone people who, like, kicked me and like, held me down, and, like, when I wanted to do anything, when I, like, wanted to stop acting like trash and, stop doing drugs, stop watching TV, stop doing everything they did, and, like, do something to myself, like, that was too much, and then, like, once I, like, tried to raise myself below the level of dirt, they got all upset with that I would, like, because if I'm not dirt, I can't walk on them. They can't welcome me, I guess. And they're trying to tell me this stuff before I've seen it anyway, like, about psychology, but I don't think it's psychology. It doesn't apply to other beings. But, if there's clones and stuff like this, and they're manipulating everything and creating everything with mind, they're not living beings, so they can be ruled by these laws that have been made up and stuff. It's like you're playing Grand Theft Auto. Is the prostitute standing in the street, or is she standing on the sidewalk? Standing on the sidewalk, she's not ready for you to run her over with the car. You pull up on the sidewalk anyway, you run her over. And then, like it has no thought there. It's just doing whatever it does. But you combine all this together, and I realize like I'm getting like that drug mentality when I'm meeting the clones. Like I knew this right away. I know everything so fast. Like I know everything from all angles. But sometimes before it's even happening in my life, I'm seeing like I'm being explained, and I'm seeing like what's about to happen to me, no matter what it is. And in many cases, anyways, or some at least enough to make it really relevant and really obvious that it's happening. But then I realized like the whole quote thing, like I'm being lulled into those false sense of comfort because these people are reminding me of people who I only want to have good memories about. And, I'm asking to see again, and then they're appearing again and stuff like that. And, I've done forgot whatever they've done, and if they did it the same and blamed everything on me, that could have went wrong. That helps me feel better and stuff, I guess. Bad person, not going to keep anyone around me that's been bad and negative towards me. And I'm right about some of the stuff I said, which is worse than me being a bad person. But I realize this is a false sense of security I'm developing by having this notion that these people who often might not have been positive at all, are happy days are now they're back in a different form and stuff like this. And it's just hitting me like a drug and stuff, and just taking over my mind. And I'm really not 100% trying to buy into it, especially when they're obvious clones and stuff, because at this point I'm just trying to research them and bait them into being close enough to me long enough to research them to be able to fully answer the question, are they real people? How many hundreds or thousands of people think they're real if I just summon them in my mind? How many friends and family do they have? How many coworkers have known them for 10 years? It's because if you're summoning the one and all those other things exist, then they exist. But if you're summoning the one and the other people don't confirm they've existed for so long, or they themselves are linked to something you're seeing that you can't trust, as if they're holders and stuff like that, handlers, then you got to deal with that. But I'm getting lulled into this. I never thought I was a victim of positive emotions, but they've been trying to tell me that for a long time. That's part of the psychology, and I'm on psychology and real, because even living beings don't fucking operate on psychology. But the prostitute in Grand Theft Auto doesn't operate on psychology. She's operating on her soul, on what she was programmed with. So she stays on the sidewalk and doesn't walk in the street. And you have to drive the sidewalk to go and stuff. And they all have the same arguments. It's 7 arguments, 7, looks. And, 7 responses to when you roll up on the sidewalk and say what's up to you in your car. But I realize I'm being lulled into this false sense of security with this as well. And it's not like I'm truthfully thinking that any of this is going to lead positive, because I'm not going to be able to wake up beside a clone ever again and be hey, what's up? This is a beautiful thing in my life. It's always going to be, whether I can get to day 3 or not, it's always going to be, this is a clone I've asked to see. And somehow they're in my life. And it's no longer about anything about, are we developing a business and, we're going to take up the world with the new best technology company ever, the new best housing, or the new best religion, or the new best revolution. or or we just having fun, it's always going to end up being intervened by the reality that this is like a cone I've asked to see and it's weird. So it's about like researching them, and the one like stole my favorite pants among hundreds of other things from me, and I knew, like, hey, when I met this person, like, this can't be good, this clone stuff, like, what these, like, evil shapeshifters in the world, like, trying to convince me of things now, and they're just all over, so now they shapeshift, and I'm such a thorn in their side that I can bait, like, their entire organization and dedicate the most resources they ever have to anything, and then that happens, and then they're taking this stuff, and it's like, I couldn't have seen that happening. There's a few other things I could have seen that happening. There's always like sex involved. I mean, obviously, like, I don't even ask to see other people. So if I talk about clones, generally females I'm talking about. So it's about like companionship and sex. If it's about men, like, I don't know who I would discuss with about like creating businesses and stuff like that. I mean, the only people I know are like, mob bosses and stuff like that. Like, trying to avoid that, but I guess that's what being a president or world leader is all about. It's being the best mob boss in the world and stuff. But so I'm not thinking about that unless it's business. I'm obviously talking about like lust and love and emotions when it comes to the other one. But it's like, and that's just as bad as mind control as drugs and the false sense of security and stuff, which totally like erases the mind and stops thinking. Look what these people do for the females that they go home to get beaten by and told to shut up by and go sleep on the couch by. Look what they do everything. They throw their entire lives in the trash for 40 years of being around people doing that. Some of them do. And it's like like the children, the 12-year-olds that they take and kidnap to sell for sex, they give them these drugs, and then all of a sudden, by the time they're 12 and a half, they think that that's life, like, and there's nothing else, and there's no other hope for them. And who knows, there probably is once they reach a certain age. There probably isn't too much left for them. And that's kind of like the way I feel. Like, I've played into this game for so long and didn't see it. I mean, I did, but what can you do? Like, I've known since I was like, I don't know, when I was born, when I was like 6 years old or whatever, that, like, hey, I'm like, a foot and a half tall, and these people, they just barely move their leg, even if they're old and crippled, and that leg just connects with my head and sends my body flying through the wall into the other room. Like, there's nothing I can do to, like, defend myself against that. Now, imagine, like a world, like, with, even if it's just, like, 1/10 of them, like, that's over 1 billion people who are sitting there waiting to put their leg to your skull and put you through a wall, and you don't do what they say. And I mean, I feel like really, like, maybe that's the whole point there, is you're just supposed to sit back and enjoy the false sense of security, whether it's them selling you something in a baggie or an emotional baggie. They call it emotional baggage. And I've been trying to explain to you, emotion is like a bag of drugs. And people are trying to sell you, and it works that way. And so, I'm like a victim to this emotion thing myself, even though I'm not really good at avoiding it compared to other people. And that's partly because I like the fix. I like, the way it feels. It's the whole point of buying the baggage, the emotional baggage. Because you want what's in the bag to feel good. doesn't matter. They're going to keep you in the head if you say no. Say yes and accept it. It doesn't matter if accepting it hurts you. At the end of the day, like you at least felt good during the day. Like now you can sleep it off and wake up and go all over again. But this is kind of like a false sense of security for me. Man, and I tell you, so much deeper into the whole like link I'm trying to make something out of one thing, feels like the other thing. That one thing, like I've been involved in that like a lot in my whole life, and I never like looked at anyone like they're bad for it until I got older, and I realized like, hey, you know, maybe children shouldn't be hanging out with adults and having orgies with adults and stuff like that. But you know, I never tried to judge people like that or anything. I mean, I generally felt uncomfortable about it, but what do? You know, when you're a foot tall and they got the baggie, and you know, they've got boots. Really, like, even if there's something you don't like, don't say no to the baggie and the boots. Like, take the bag and just deal with it, I guess. I don't know. It'd be nice to like understand like that. I'm really just talking myself to life because really at the end of the day everything can be written off but yeah, 60% it's like my mind sort of like people and stuff around me. But there's like the flaws in that situation, whereas there would have been some sort of layout before you arrive, right? Thousands of years of history, which I'm sure they've been writing. Like they've been like, you know, writing history that goes, like everyone's like, oh, that existed, that CD existed, those 8 CDs existed 20 years ago, they existed 30 years ago, but we're just releasing them now for mass consumption. They weren't available to everyone, and you're like, and then the music appears right away when it's talking to you, and you're like, no, like that didn't exist, like it didn't exist. They just put it out 5 minutes ago, they admit that. And you see that, and you still have like a 30 to 60% chance. I'm like fully inventing portions of the world, but I'm still trying to get to the bottom, like where, you know, see the answers to that would be the answers to how everything has to be fixed. And I feel like at the same time, like if it's not 100%, you know, wanted by everyone, it's complex, anyway, trying to convince the people of the world that they should be working on controlling the world, working on trying to change it, to make it perfect or whatever. It's acceptable perfection, but then there's also, you know, the reality of it. Just in like the game world, you know, having fun, like, you'll play Call of Duty, you kill everyone, the team starts running them out, so you start pulling the trigger on the grenade, and spawn point, you're killing everyone with the spawn point. And it's just the way it adds up that you deal with all that stuff like that. You're not like, oh my god, what's gonna happen here? You're like, oh, team killing. And you know, the team runs their mouth right up, what are they gonna do? But man, I can describe all that stuff vapor, not that we want to trust them. But hell, I don't think they're any less punished than other things. So I'm trying to sort out, like, are there other people here who aren't clones who interact with them? Or is it just like truly a one-player death simulation there? Because there can't be too many, because there's so many clones and stuff. It already is like 40% of the population. I mean, something like that. Sometimes it's really fast on demand how I can summon it. So many things like that can be explained by all sorts of stupid stuff. So we don't even focus on the fact that I ask for this to appear and then all of a sudden this company makes it. Or all of a sudden this company, everyone thinks this company made it 2 years ago. And then And there was one thing I was watching. One of those DMT-like things. But they say they just found it growing on the mountains and stuff like that. And this is hazardous substances again. Again, I've asked, hey, like, they're making it hard for this stuff to be obtained. Let's deal with it. And like, I didn't know we could even do this stuff at one point. But I was like, asking for things to see, what we can do. Maybe work towards it myself. And then, like, it starts appearing like different formulations of my medications. It starts appearing stuff like that. And sometimes, like, that one somehow had a backstory that it was something they magically found. And sometimes they just magically find new stuff, like real masks for dinosaurs and stuff. Like, apparently they don't want to bring back dinosaurs. They don't want to get rid of them first. But so they brought back like the illusion that they existed by saying they found one from a long time ago. But it's like a small, tiny one. It's not a Stegosaurus or a raptor or one of the cool ones. It has the sauropods and stuff. But yeah, so like we gotta figure out what's going on, how the clone thing happened, and why it's happening, and what the real purpose of being here is. I'm gonna have to assume railways and there's certain things laid out where you have to play for the game. Because it seems too limited, even though I've only been alive for like 42 years, and I didn't interact or talk to people really for like the first 30 years. So I only get a couple years during this intervention. But it feels like it should be older than just one small lifespan. But at the same time, like, it's not explaining where it comes from outside of there and how old I am on the outside of the matrix. So, you look at that and then you realize that, what was the first plans and inventions? What was this laid out? Like, Grand Theft Auto America. The game's laid out. Like most games, Mario Brothers, the game's laid out. We enter the game, and there are certain games, but not in Mario. You can't just decide, hey, like I'm going to be on Koopa's side and help them conquer Toadstool. And you can't be like, hey, well, I'm going to turn Toadstool into people who are useful instead of sitting around whining and stuff about being so helpless. And it doesn't work that way, but there are games like that. There are more simulations like that where you have the second life. And I guess now they have, what's that called on Facebook? You guys probably don't know what second life is, so it's really important to drop that. It's with the avatars where you like now go into your game world and it's like you, but it's on Facebook. Okay, so that's not the first time. There's also PlayStation Home that did that. And I realized that, if this stuff existed before that, then, if it's like an ongoing manifestation of thought that's been for like 20 billion years, like, it would have been gone a long time ago. Like, the world would be in a perfect place. Like, no matter if you had to flood the earth once or something, you would have learned at that point, like, we have to change it to a different way. Unless that's, like, the whole point and stuff. Like, you play certain games, and you are, like, like ActRaiser or something like that. You are, like, the person in control, and the people worship you, and the people don't, everyone, and the enemies, like, they fall victim to whatever you do, or they fall gifted by whatever you do. And pretty much the entire point there is to, like, gift everything, but, when you, like, flood the place because you take away all their land because you're rebuilding the land and stuff, to be better and more hospitable. Because you can't live on like mountains and you can't live on the bottom of water apparently. So you have to raise the land or destroy the land. And you have that stuff, and you realize I realize figuring out like what here is going on, what was the plot line laid out, what was it by the plot line, not just other people writing to admit they don't know what they're writing. Not just what they say, but what was the laid out plot line for us in a certain year onto Earth, so we can like move forward with that and stuff. But I feel like without knowing that, I don't know the answer to like how I should feel about the Clone Age and just how negative or positive that might be and be able to be directed towards